Good afternoon, everyone. I am Rana Ravi from Committee on MSME and Startup. I would like to welcome our speaker, CA Mukul Lamba sir, and our coordinator, CA Richa Goyal ma'am, for today's Pathshala series. Richa Goyal ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So, first of all, I would like to brief about myself. I am chartered accountant. I am a practicing chartered accountant for over 13 years, and I am holding a degree of diploma in insurance and risk management, and I have certification in NPO, CSR, and I am also DISA qualified. So, not going much deeper into my profile, I am going directly deeper into the profile of the speaker. So, I would like to welcome our speaker, CA Mukul Lambaji. He is a chartered accountant and he is a young dynamic startup and business mentor, as well as passionate stock market enthusiast. He is the visionary founder of BizGyan Private Limited, a Government of India recognized startup dedicated to empowering individuals with essential business and financial knowledge. With the prestigious qualification of CA and current pursuing the CS final qualification, Mukul sir's mission is to leverage technology to bring business and financial literacy to every corner of the country. As an author, C. Mukul has penned several inspiring books, including 10 life changing mantras that can make you successful, The Big Biz Marketing Guide, Charterpreneur, and Reinventing CA Profession in 2025 AI Era, which are available on BizGyan. Though his YouTube channel BizGyan, he actively promotes financial literacy and share invaluable insights into effective business management, reaching audience far and wide. So I would like to welcome C. Mukul Lambaji to deliver the session.
Thank you, ma'am. So, hello, namaskar, and good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank ICI, MSME, and Startup Committee for giving me an opportunity to present my views on this topic on startups today. Also, I would like to thank CA Gyanchand Mishra sir, Chairman, and Vice Chairman CA Arpit Kabra sir for MSME and Startup Committee of ICI. Also, my thanks to CA Richa Goyal ma'am, coordinator for this webinar for my introduction. So now coming on to the today's topic, that is startups and CA, transforming ideas into scalable business model. So let me share my screen first. So, okay, let's start the today's discussion. Hope my screen is visible. So the scope for today's discussion is chartered accountants and startups. That is transforming ideas into scalable businesses. So talking about startups, if we see in the magazines, social media, or newspapers, today the startup is the buzzword. And startups today are not only limited to businesses, they have become a part of our daily lives. See, let's start our day. We need apps like Blinkit, Zepto, Country Delight for our grocery needs. So while going to office, we need apps like Ola, Uber. Then coming back again from the office, we require certain kind of startup apps. So startups are not only the businesses, they have become the part of our daily lives. And talking about the business essence, newspapers, you see magazines, you see social media. Today, the whole of the magazines or the social media world is flooded with the one word, that is startups. So, I have put forward some of the major headlines from the recent times related to startup. So, before beginning our discussion on the startup world and the startup ecosystem, I would like you to have a glance through this major headlines so that we can better understand that how the startup ecosystem in our country is flourishing. The first headline on your screens is about the grow. Like in the last few weeks, there were three IPOs that hit the market that were related to startups. One of them was Grow, Lenscarts, and Physicswala. So see the headlines related to them. Grow, 1 lakh market cap. Grow co-founder Lalit Kesri enters billionaires club as stock market close 1 lakh crore market cap. Next headline, Lenscart IPO valuation pegged at 70,000 crore at 260 PE. Physicswala IPO shares and above 42% above 109 IPO price on BSE. Physicswala founder Alak Pandey joins billionaire club ahead of IPO. Seeing these massive numbers and IPO headlines, you might have got the idea about the power of Indian startups. Indian startups are no longer the developing force that guides the country, it is the present. It is not longer the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji that our startups will rule the world. They are ruling the world. That is not history, that is not vision, that is the present. These headlines show them. Now, talking about the startup ecosystem in our country, first question comes to our mind that what is a startup? How to define a startup? What is a startup business? So simply talking about that what startup is. It is just another business. But how to differentiate a startup with a normal business? How can we say that this is a startup? So according to my definition, in simple terms, we can say that startup is just an another term for an idea that can be converted into a scalable business model. So I was talking about the story of Physicswala in my last slide. So Mr. Alak Pandey just started with 30,000 rupees from a small studio in Allahabad. And from that 30,000 studio, he took into the stock market and brought a IPO of Physicswala Limited at 30,000 crore valuation. From 30,000 to 30,000 crore valuation. This is the power of Indian startups, guys. Talking open the another idea that I am talking, that is basic the startup defines that a small idea about a problem that can be converted into a scalable business model. What is a startup? It is basically a solution for a problem that can be converted into a scalable business model. Like seeing the examples, one of the examples is from the Red Bus. It is about an 25-year-old engineer who couldn't go back to his home on Diwali holidays. He felt so bad that he couldn't attend that family gathering on Diwali festival. He thought that there are lakhs, there are thousands, there are crores of students in India that could not go back to their homes due to shortage and high fare of airlines, trains, and huge demand in this transportation industry at that time. So he thought that I couldn't go my home in this Diwali festival. So I need to build something that students do not face this same issue. So that 25-year-old engineer thought of a problem and a solution came as Redbus, and that business started from just 5 lakh rupees. Just 5 lakh rupees was later sold at 800 crore rupees. That's the power of Indian startup. Another example, sir, is Ola. As we all know that due to the certain shortages of time and monopoly of taxi drivers, there were a lot of shortage and problems related to cab industry in India. So Ola saw that gap between the driver and the consumer looking for a cab service, and it bridged the gap through this app Ola. See the example of Zomato and Blinkit. What they offer is just the 10-minute services, 10-minute grocery services, 10-minute food services in many of the regions of India. So what the problem they saw? They saw that there are a culture of 9 to 5 working, and we as a chartered accountants are working 24/7. We do not have the time to go into the markets to buy groceries or foodstuffs for our family and ourselves. So they thought of an idea, why not to serve the clients in just 10 minutes? Bring the groceries to their homes. If they cannot go to the market, let market come to their homes. So this is the problem and the solution, and they created a scalable business model out of that problem only. Let's take the example of an IPL. We all have been viewing it since 2008 when it was launched. When 2008 Mr. Lalit Modi ji brought IPL into the Indian landscape, it was just valued around 1000 crores. But today, talking about its valuation, it's around 80,000 crores. That's the power of Indian startups. IPL is just also a startup. It was just a vision of a man that cricket can be formed, played in the league form, dividing it to the regions, and auction can be done. So it was just a vision that he took from the football, from foreign industry, from foreign country, and brought into the cricket. And he knew the potential that cricket is the major sport, the most liked sport in India, and that is going to the big picture. So a 1000 crore venture in 2008, in 2025 it is valued around 80,000 crore, and in 2023 it was valued around 93,000 crore, means a decacorn, 10 times the valuation of a unicorn. So this is the power of an idea, sir. See the another example, sir, of Madam Falguni Nayyar. When Nykaa IPO was launched, she became the richest self-made woman in India. So this is the power of Indian startup, guys. Another example is of pharmacy. It saw the problem that elder age people cannot get out of their home and bring their medicines. Their kids, their grandsons are they're busy in their works. So there is no one in their families to support them with their medications. The pharmacy brought with an idea that we can serve the medicines at their home. So basically the talk of the discussion is only this, that what startup basically is. You saw a problem and you take that idea into a scalable business model. That is only a startup. You see every story of startup, it's just solve a small problem and it is a scalable business model, it can be expanded. So basic definition you can note for the startup is it is just a name for an idea that can solve a problem by converting it into a scalable business model. This is the simple definition of startup. Now, talking about the recent valuations of some of the startup headlines I saw in the recent times. So currently, the Meesho IPO, that is one of the India's e-commerce startup that is also on the board, that is open for IPO subscription. So this headline you can see Meesho's 500,000, that is 5 lakh% return. This is the power of Indian startup. Who got this return? The angel investors, the VCs who invested as an earlier stage. You can see the headline, Meesho IPO delivers massive returns to early investors. Early backers of Meesho, including Elevation Capital and Peak XV, are set to receive up to 1020 crore collectively, with the returns reportedly up to 5 lakh%. We, the retail investors, are happy with a return of 5 to 10% or 20-30% return on the listing day. But see the power of early investment in startups. The VCs, the angel investors who backed their idea as an initial stage, today are getting the return of 5 lakh%. This is the power of Indian startups, sir. Another headline, yesterday I was scrolling through Twitter account and I saw an headline, a tweet from CA Aman Gupta, who is also a chartered accountant and CMO of Boat. So he said that his investment in one of the snacks brand, that it's Let's Try, gave him a return of 33,000 to 33% in just 4 years. That his 12 lakh investment in Shark Tank season 1 turned into 40 crore in the company none of the other sharks invested. So his 12 lakh converted today into 40 crores. That is triple 3x return in just 4 years. That is the power of Indian startups. So by seeing this whole of the huge valuations, huge returns, whole of the landscape about Indian startup might be pretty clear that how fastly, how dynamically the Indian startup ecosystem is evolving. Now I will take you to some of the more highlights. Now the discussion will shift on the topic that, sir, how can we as a chartered accountants, as financial doctors, play a crucial role in this startup ecosystem? Till now, you talk about that there are so many these huge valuations, huge IPOs coming, huge returns made, but how we as a chartered accountant can play a crucial role? Now, guys, see this startup logos on this screen. I have listed a few: Make My Trip, Motilal Oswal, Boat, ClearTex, BizGyan, IIFL, Yatra, Cars24, Policy Bazaar. Do you know what is common in all these startups? The promoters of all these startups are only our brothers and sisters. They all are chartered accountants. Take the example of Boat, as I already told, CA Aman Gupta, Cars24, CA Amit Jain, Motilal Oswal, BizGyan, ClearText, Make My Trip CEO is also a chartered accountant. So you can see the big brands a chartered accountant have built. So the chartered accountant can definitely play a crucial role in this ecosystem, which we can delve deep dive into the further discussion. But the purpose for showing this was that the common force behind all the startups shown behind, just few mentioned below, are the chartered accountants. Now, talking about some of the facts related to Indian startup ecosystem before we delve into the discussion that how can a chartered accountant play a crucial role. So let's see some of the amazing facts related to Indian startup ecosystem. So sir, India has become the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, surpassing Great Britain, the one who ruled for over 200 years to us. We have surpassed them and became the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, only behind China and USA. So, in just 8 years, nearly 8 to 9 years of Startup India scheme implementation, we have become the world's third largest startup ecosystem. Taking on another fact, as of late 2025, India is home to approx 120 to 125 unicorn startups. So what is a unicorn startup? We will discuss in the next slide. So as of 2025, India is home to about 125 unicorn startups. And in 2021, after the stock market fell on record high after the COVID, alone 45 new unicorns. At that time, funding was very easy to get, it was easily accessible, and huge funds were available. So at that time, 2021 time, alone in that single year, 45 new unicorns were added. So now, as we're talking about discussion that what is a unicorn, sir? So sir, unicorn is basically a venture backed private equity company valued at $1 billion or more, means around 1000 crore dollar, means the company having the valuation of 9,000 crore. If we take the dollar value as 90, the company valued at 9,000 crore is a unicorn company. So at this date, we have the home to 125 unicorn companies. So a company having a valuation of around 9,000 crores is a unicorn company. So now the discussion is that Bengaluru is currently the world's seventh largest unicorn hub, and alone in India, it is the largest unicorn hub with around 55 unicorns headquartered in India in Bengaluru. So these were the basic facts I took out to see that how the startup ecosystem is developing in our country. Now the sir questions come. This fact is one of the most interesting to see. Two-thirds of the Indian startups, two-thirds of the Indian startups are from IIT, IIM, and BITS. Isn't this something missing here? When I read this fact, I was pretty surprised to see that 66 Indian percent startups, 66% of Indian startups are from IIM or IITs. Isn't something missing here? I saw where is our mother body ICI here? We say that we are the largest accounting body in the world. We are having the members around 5 lakh. We are having around 11 lakh students. But Why startups are not producing from ICAI? Why chartered accountants as startups and entrepreneurs are lacking? So this is the point to self introspect, that are we very busy in the compliance work related to ITRs, GST, ROC compliances only? Is the role of chartered accountant limited to tax filings and compliance part only? So this is the question to be asked to ourselves only. The self introspection need to be done, that why this data is not showing ICI as the leading startup number. So now talking about the question that how Sir CS as a chartered accountant can play an important role in startup ecosystem. So, sir, the role of a chartered accountant can be three-phased. A chartered accountant can play a role in three areas. Firstly, can be chartered accountant as an entrepreneur. A chartered accountant can himself incorporate a startup company and act as a co-founder or CEO or a full-time role in a startup company. Like we saw the examples of CA Aman Gupta, CA Prateek Jain, CA Motilal Oswal. So they all are entrepreneurs at the earlier stage and now form the so big unicorn companies and decacorn companies. So this CA as an entrepreneur is a thing that a chartered accountant can easily start his own company, and a founder and CEO role he can play. Next is the CA as an consultant role. A chartered accountant being the financial doctor and the expert in taxation, training, funding, advisory, accounting, finance, he can act as a consultant role. There is one of the also schemes that is Margdarshak, that is Marg portal, in which you can register as an Startup India registered mentor on Startup India portal. So a chartered accountant can act as a consultant role also, as a trainer, taxation, funding, IPO. So that is the consultant role. Third is a chartered accountant as an auditor. That is the traditional role. Chartered accountant can definitely play the role that is of an auditor, that can be an internal auditor, state auditor, or any kind of other internal assignment. So three roles basically chartered accountant can play in this startup ecosystem. Firstly, as an entrepreneur himself, he can form a company and act as a founder and CEO, like many of the chartered accountants have did. Next is CA as a consultant. That is, you can act as a trainer, you can act as a taxation expert, you can act as a funding expert, you can act as an SME IPO advisor or an main board IPO advisor. You can act as C as an auditor role. That is the traditional role. So now deeping dive into a discussion. So this you have told that we can play crucial role, but what are the services? What are the areas in which can often advisory services? So, sir, seeing firstly, what is a startup? Government of India recognizes which entity as a startup. So, checking that if your client entity or your entity is a startup or not, we need to check out five conditions, sir. These five conditions are guideline and produced by DPIIT, that is Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, which is an sub body created by Ministry of Commerce and Industry under Government of India. So DPIIT, this body, tells five conditions in order to recognize a startup. So the first condition is the company's age. That is, the period of existence and operations should not exceed 10 years from the date of incorporation. The point to note out is that from the date of incorporation, 10 years should not have been passed. Means your company's age should be less than 10 years in order to avail the DPIIT startup recognition. Next is the company type. Either your entity should be incorporated as a private limited company, limited liability partnership, or registered partnership firm. So it should be a private limited company, LLP, or an registered partnership firm, or it can be done as an LLP, registered partnership firm, or private limited company. These are the three forms. Another condition, that is the third condition, that is about the annual turnover. In the 10 years in which you are a startup, your annual turnover should not exceed rupees 100 crore for any of the financial years since its incorporation. In 10 years, in any of the years, your turnover should not exceed 100 crore. If in a single year it exceeds 100 crore, from that day you are not entitled for the benefit of startup for the pending years also. So turnover should be always less than 100 crore in your 10 years of incorporation till you are a startup company with DPIIT. Another condition, sir, is original entity. Entity, that is, should be a fresh and a new entity. It should not be formed by split up, reconstruction, or demerger of an existing business. So, suppose if an big business house like Reliance, Birla, or Tata comes with a demerger or an existing subsidiary getting formed as a separate company and they want to get the DPIIT recognition as startup, so they are not allowed. It is for a new venture. It should be totally a newly incorporated company, and it should not be a split up or a reconstruction of an already existing business. That is the fourth condition. Now the fifth conditions that comes, that is innovation and scalability. That is one of the most crucial aspects of a startup business. So sir, what differentiates a MSME business with a startup business? See, a MSME business, a micro small medium enterprise, also exists for a matter of making profit. They are also selling, manufacturing the goods with the aim of earning profit. This is the basic commercial definition of a business, that anything buying and selling of goods or services done with the aim of earning profit, that is MSME business. So sir, what differentiates a MSME business with a startup? So guys, the difference between an MSME business and a startup is the vision, the technology. The vision of the entrepreneur, the sole proprietor, the founding partner differentiates this all. The vision of the entrepreneur and a MSME business owner differentiates significantly. So, taking the example of Lenskart, see, Lenskart is also selling the optical frames, optical lenses, and there's a small optical shop in your locality, maybe called as Sharma Opticals. They are also selling out the opticals. But what differentiates between an MSME business, that is Sharma Opticals, and a startup company that gets listed on the Indian stock market at an humongous valuation of 70,000 crore is the vision of the founder only, sir. A small business owner opens his shop daily and has a vision that I need to sell 5 to 6 pairs of spectacle today. But that man, Piyush Bansal, the founder of Lenskart, had a vision that I need to sell my spectacles, my frames to all over India and make this spectacle as a fashion brand. So he took that vision forward, selling only the same product, and converted a spectacle, that the optical business, into a 70,000 crore company. But on the other side, that Sharma optical shop is been operating on the same model for the last 20 years. So this vision, this technological advancement differentiates an MSME business with a startup business. Taking on the another example, suppose take an example of a small stall outlet, that is Gupta Burger Center. Many of this shop have been in a locality like that of a Gupta Burger Center. What he does is daily manufactures the burgers, creates the burger, and sell it to the daily locality customers. These customers are only restricted to that region. But taking the example of Sir Burger King, you can find the Burger King outlet in more than 150 countries. So that is the differentiation between a small business and a startup. The main product burger is same for both of the businesses. They are also doing the business of selling burger. Burger King is also ultimately selling the burger. They are fulfilling our hunger. But sir, the business model, you can find the Burger King in 150 countries, but Gupta Burger Center in only your locality. So sir, this is the basic difference between an MSME business and startup. So now we talked about the vision. The other conditions are the startup business should work towards development or improvement. See the words, the development or an improvement. It not need to be any every time new thing. It can be an improvement also of your existing product. Like cab services was already there in our country. But what Ola did, that it redefined the procedure to order a cab. Restaurants was already delivering to your home. Small kirana shop was already delivering to your home. But what Zepto and Blinkit did, that they redefined the delivery channels. They maintained their own warehouses and delivered to your home within 10 minutes. So this is the basic differentiation and improvement in the processes and the product. And it should have a scalable business model that should create wealth and employment opportunities. So this was the fifth condition. Now once again I am repeating the five conditions that are absolute necessary for DPIIT startup recognition with government. That is, first condition, your company's age should be less than 10 years. It should be incorporated as a private limited company, registered partnership firm, or a limited liability partnership. Third condition is that your annual turnover in any of the 10 years from your date of incorporation should not exceed 100 crores. It should be an original entity and should not be formed by split up reconstruction of an already existing business. The fifth condition is should work towards development or improvement, and it should be a scalable business model with high potential for wealth and employment creation. So this was the conditions in order to avail the DPIIT registration for a Startup India schemes. So we will see the Startup India scheme benefits in the later part of this segment. So these were the conditions for DPIIT startup recognition. Now coming on to the discussion that sir, why startups are necessary. So the first point, entrepreneurship. Like our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji says that we need to create a developed India, that is Viksit Bharat, by 2047. So in order to support that vision, government cannot offer the jobs to lakhs, crores of youth in our country. So this is the only way. Government is also saying the startups, when our Indian youth, our chartered accountancy students will create that startups, we need not find the job seekers. We will become the job providers. So it gives a crucial boost to entrepreneurship and promotes startup and entrepreneurship in our country. Core objective Core objective is to generate maximum employment. The maximum employment can be generated. It creates job providers rather than job seekers. Like you can see the latest data that Indian startups, that is 1.97 lakh Indian startups, have directly created 21 lakh direct jobs. So we are talking about the job providers rather than job seekers. So startup is the boost to that. Today we are seeing that their market is flooded with lot of young qualified chartered accountants, but we are worried that how to get them placed, how they will get jobs. But sir, if they enter into this vision, this startup vision, they can employ more than lakhs of people. Not worrying about their employment, they can employ lakhs of people. So, sir, startups act as a job provider and it creates the job opportunities for the country, for the youth. Third point, sir, is the economic growth and development. Economic growth and development, it boosts banking and finance sector. Whenever there are startups in a country, definitely it hits out to the banking sector, and finance and banking sector grows, which ultimately boost the GDP of our country and take to the economic growth and development, and automatically we can get converted into a developed country. So sir, this is the vision behind the startups, that why startups are necessary for our economic growth and country. Now, sir, talking about the Startup India scheme, where a chartered accountant can play an important role as a consultant to their existing clients. So, sir, the Startup India scheme was launched at our 69th Independence Day from Red Fort. Our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji launched it on 15th August 2015 on our 69th Independence Day, and said that we want to enable startups to make India number one in this field. Startup India, stand up India. This was his address to the nation, that Startup India, stand up India. So he knew that India can become a startup power in the world, and he knew that the vision of making India the number one in this ecosystem. And within this initiative in 2015, we are in 2025. Within just 9 to 10 years of this vision, we have already become the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. And by 2047, till the time we become a developed economy, we can definitely become the world's largest startup ecosystem also. So the aim of this scheme was to build startups and help them nurture and provide them with the opportunities to grow and avail the funding options available with the government, the support the government can provide. So the whole of the scheme was unveiled on 16th January 2016, and 16th January every year is now celebrated as a startup day in India. And even our ICI also holds certain events at ICI level and branch level on 16th January to celebrate the startup day in India. So as I was talking about, the government of India under Ministry of Commerce and Industry has created a separate body, that is Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, to coordinate implementation of Startup India initiatives with other government departments. So Government of India has made efforts toward making Startup India initiative. Substantial progress have been made, and all these schemes have been listed out on Startup India website that we can see in the later part of our presentation. So as we're talking about the DPIIT, the main body above is Ministry of Commerce and Industry, and above is Government of India. So Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade is a body created by Commerce of Industry Ministry. And this DPIIT only looks after all of the startup implementation, that is the Startup India initiatives and other government department works within this scheme of Startup India. So till now we have discussed that what is the startup ecosystem in our country, which startups governments recognizes as an startup, which entities are recognized as startup by government through DPIIT, what is DPIIT, and now this is the portal, that is startupindia.gov.in, through which we can get every access to startup events, through policies of the government, through the events that have been conducted for the startup, any kind of contest that have been created for startup, any kind of mentorship we want to register as started accountant on this portal. You can see on this screen the Mark mentorship portal, where we can get and registered as a mentor for startups. So like GST and income tax portal, this is also a portal which works for the startups only, that is www.startupindia.gov.in. So this is the Startup India portal. Now, initially the Startup India registration was done on the Startup India portal, but from the last year it has been shifted to a new portal, that is nsws.gov.in, that is National Single Window System portal, for availing all of the schemes of central government and state governments. So it comes under the central government scheme, that is Startup India. So we need to go to this website and register our client entity to this portal for getting the Startup India registration. So you can note out this portal for registering as a startup under Startup India scheme with DPIIT. We need to go to this new portal, that is www.nsws.gov.in. So now talking about the data, till date we have around 2 lakh plus startups that are registered with DPIIT and 6 lakh 36,300 Bhaskar users nearly. What is Bhaskar now we will discuss in the later part of the segment. Talking about Bhaskar is just like an networking platform for startups where they can interact with angel investor, VCs, mentors, and other core startups. So it is like of a networking platform for startups. So this is the data that nearly 2 lakh plus DPIIT startups are already recognized in our country, and more than 6 lakh users are on the Bhaskar portal. So this was the little data to show yet how the startup ecosystem is working. So this is a kind of certificate. This is one of the demo certificates. So this is a certificate of recognition after you apply on the portal with Startup India DPIIT. This is kind of a certification issued which recognized you as a startup with DPIIT. So you can see this is the name of the company which is incorporated as a private limited company. Date is given on the incorporation, and the certificate is valid up to 5/6/2032, that is from the 10 years from the date of incorporation. So the date on which you apply does not count for the 10-year mark. The day on which you were incorporated, the date that is printed on your certificate of incorporation issued by MCA, on that date till 10 years, you are eligible to get the Startup India benefits. And the turnover should not exceed 100 crores in any of these 10 years. So this is the condition also written on the certificate also. Whenever your turnover exceeds 100 crore in any of the financial years till 10 years, then your Startup India benefit will get ceased. So this was a sample certificate I showed you about Startup India. Now, sir, coming upon the benefits, that what are the benefits available to Startup India, that are the startups registered in DPIIT, what are the various benefits available to them? So firstly, I will tell about the briefly, that is the benefit related to intellectual property rights, relaxation in public procurement norms, certification, self-certification, the labor and environmental laws, access to various events and competitions on Startup India portal, faster exits for startup, Startup India seed fund scheme, access to Bhaskar platform, programs on Startup India website. So these are the basic benefits that are eligible for a startup recognized under Startup India scheme. Now we will see each of this benefit in detail, that whenever you consult your client that you need to get the Startup India registration, the client will ask, sir, what are the benefits involved with this registration? So you can easily guide them with the benefits available with this registration. So talking about the registration, the first benefit available after recognizing of your entities and startup is regarding IPRs. As we know, the innovation is the bread and butter of startups. The startups are hugely dependent upon their innovation, their name. So government recognized that need, that a startup entity needs to protect their trademarks, their designs, their patents. So they have provided startups with the following benefits in intellectual property rights, and the objective is to give them the access to reduced cost for securing their IPRs and making the process easier for them. So talking about the IPR, like we all know that IPRs are so crucial that we know policies, insurance policies by the name of LIC. We know the toothpaste companies by the name of Colgate. We know the noodle brand companies by the name of Maggie. So the startup ecosystem is so much that a brand becomes famous. So government recognized the need to protect the brand of the startup and provided them with the facilities related to this. So firstly, government said that fast track application of patents. The startup will get the fast track application and their applications would be processed faster than the normal applications. In case of patent filing fees, 80% rebate is there provided by the government, sir. 80% rebate will be provided by the government, and this will help them save their cost for the initial year and help them fuel their business growth over the coming years. Talking about the trademark part, government has maintained a list of facilitator on their platform, and through that facilitator list, the startup filing the application for trademark can select the facilitator, and central government shall bear the entire fees of the facilitator for any number of patents, trademark or design that a startup may file. So sir, the facilitator fee for patent, trademark and design is free for the startups, and startup shall only bear the statutory fees payable, and in patent filing fees 80% rebate is there. So these are the benefits available to your startup client when they come with the Startup India registration. This was regard to benefit of intellectual property rights. Another benefit is regarding relaxation in public procurement norms. As we all are aware about, there are certain tenders floated by Government of India, state governments. So the earnest deposit need to be deposited. So there are certain flotations, certain tenders in which startups do not need to deposit any of the earnest deposits. Also, there is a GEM portal created and certain fees are not applicable to startup registration there. And during the public procurement norms, tenders will be given priority access to startup manufacturers or startup clients. So this is the benefit given in regard to public procurement norms by Government of India. Third is self-certification under labor and environmental norms. As we are aware that ESI, PF, gratuity or environmental like pollution control board or pollution and environmental laws are there for the manufacturing startups who are manufacturing some things. So they need to have a factory. So there are certain labor and environmental laws applicable to a factory business. So what are the rebates or benefits given in that? So in the Startup India scheme, the special benefit in regard to labor laws is given that no inspection will be conducted for a period of 5 years. In period of 5 years, there will be no inspections regarding labor laws. So you can self-certify that you are complied with the labor laws and no government official will disturb you. Second point is regard to startup shall be allowed. Startup shall be allowed to self-certify compliance with 6 labor laws and 3 environmental laws through a simple online procedure. Startup shall be allowed to self-certify compliance with 6 labor laws and 3 environmental laws. And sir, talking about the IBC, when your client comes to you and asks, let's sir, if I form and start a business and in case the idea does not work, I need to wind up my business. That takes a huge load of the money and time and efforts. So sir, the Startup India scheme startups can have a fast track wound up under IBC in just 90 days. The government has also taken care of the winding up process that just in 90 days fast track wound up for an startup business can be done. And sir, in case of environmental laws, startup which fall under the white category as defined by CPCB, that is Pollution Control Board, they can also self-certify and only random checks can be carried out. Regular checks like in factories will not be conducted. So these are the benefits also available them to in regard of labor and environmental laws. Another sir benefit is access to event and competitions on Startup India portal. Like the portal I showed you regarding the startupindia.gov.in, there are so many of the events and the competitions related to startup held there. There can be competitions related to startup programs. There can be startup pitch deck competitions. So many state government events are listed there. So in order to get the details about the events and the competitions or the pitch deck rounds that are held across the country, one needs to get registered on this Startup India portal so that they can get the access to this benefits regarding events competition on Startup India portal. And sir, faster exit, I have already told that in 90 days under IBC insolvency and bankruptcy code, you can wound your startup within 90 days. Another important benefit is Startup India scheme. Startup India seed fund scheme. Seed fund scheme benefit, which we are going to discuss in detail in the later part of this presentation. So Startup India seed fund benefit is there, under which non-refundable grants are given to a startup. Third is the Bhaskar platform. Another one is the Bhaskar platform I was earlier referring to it. So what basically Bhaskar platform is? Bhaskar platform stands for Bharat Startup Knowledge Access Registry. It is basically a networking platform like LinkedIn or Twitter type of thing in which you can create your ID, that is Bhaskar ID, and your username profile will be created through which you can interact with the co-startup co-founders, entrepreneurs, startup mentors, angel investors, VCs, and the other persons registered on that portal. Like I was showing you, nearly 6,50,000 users are already registered on this startup platform. So this is basically a networking platform for startups only. So you can create your account there as a mentor. So as a chartered accountant, you can play as an important mentorship success for the startup, and you can check out the other options also listed on that portal. So with the aim of this Bhaskar portal is that it can connect entrepreneurs, investors, mentors, policymakers, and other startup ecosystem players on just a single platform. Bhaskar platform, you can connect with the other co-entrepreneurs also. So to maintain accuracy and integrity of the network, only users that have completed their Bhaskar ID generation and created complete user profile will be visible and searchable on the Bhaskar network platform. So this is one of the networking platform that I have told you about, that is Bhaskar platform, a startup of Startup India initiative by Government of India. So this was regard to the Bhaskar platform benefit. As I already told, there are programs on Startup India website that you can easily avail. Now the focus shift onto an important benefit under Startup India, that is under Income Tax Act, that is Section 80 IAC. So the startups eligible for registration on the startups eligible for the registration on the Startup India portal. Once they have registered for the Startup India scheme, then they are entitled for the benefit of Section 80 IAC tax exemption also. So, sir, what this Section 80 IAC says, it says that income tax exemption is available for the 3 years post registration under the schemes. So, startups can avail tax holiday for 3 consecutive financial years out of the 10 years since on corporation. So, for the 3 consecutive years, you need not to pay any income tax on your PGBP income. So after getting this exemption under 80 IAC, I will discuss the further conditions also. For the 3 consecutive years, you can decide upon that 3 consecutive years out of the 10. So that scheme, after this scheme, after the getting registration under 80 IAC scheme, you can get 3 year consecutive tax deduction on your PGBP income. But this is not as easy it seems. Till now, till date, after there are 2 lakh DPWIT startups, but till now only 4,147 startups have got this 80 IAC benefit till 31st October. I am having the data. Till 31st October, only around 4,200 startups have got this 80 IAC scheme benefit. So it is not as easy it seems. Government properly scrutinizes your application. Government have created a separate board, that is inter-ministerial board. So after taking your Startup India registration, you need to go to that Startup India website that we can see some other day, that how to get that ATAC registration or Startup India registration. That is a detail to our separate masterclass. So after we get the Startup India registration, we can log in to the Startup India portal and go to the 80 IAC tax exemption, and there after submitting our application, it goes to interministerial board. They conduct their regular meetings, and this interministerial board consisted of joint secretary, DPIIT convener, representative of Department of Biotechnology member, representative of the Department of Science and Technology member. So these 3 persons sit in this interministerial board, and after detailed scrutinizing your application, detailed checking your pick jacks, your last 2 3 year audits, your balance sheet, your PL, they will decide upon that you are eligible for this exemption under Action 80 IAC of Income Tax Act or not. So the board shall validate startups for the income tax exemption on profits under Section 80 IAC of the Income Tax Act. So a DPIIT recognized startup shall be eligible to apply to interministerial board for a full deductions on the profit and gains for the business. So as we are telling the data, as of 31st October, only around 4,147 startups have been getting this benefit under 80 IAC. So the condition is that you need to be a private limited company or limited liability partnership. You should be incorporated after 1st April 2016, but before 1st April 2030. The startup is engaged in innovation. That is the same condition for DPIIT registration. Startup should have been engaged in innovation, development, or improvement of the products, processes, or services, or a scalable business model with a high potential for employment generation or wealth creation. And a website to apply for this 80 IAC exemption is same on which that I earlier taught, that is startupindia.gov.in. It will auto fetch after you enter your SIN number. It will auto fetch that you are registered with the Startup India scheme, and after that you can file your application for Section 80 IAC. Now talking about the steps to claim this deduction. So firstly, as I told you, that you need to get DPIIT recognition, and after that recognition with DPIIT that around 2 lakh startups have got, you need to file another registration, another certificate of eligibility with interministerial board, that is for Section 80 IAC eligibility, with the proper documents, that is a complete list with the video of your product or services, with a pitch deck, with the financials certified by a chartered accountant in practice. You need to upload the various documents, that is a complete list on the portal. And after your application gets selected with interministerial board, then you are eligible for claiming the deduction after the tax audit and in form 10 CCB. After you get the 80 IAC, while filing your income tax return, a separate audit in the form 10 CCB need to be submitted by certified chartered accountant in practice. So then you can calculate your deduction under section 80 IAC, and while filing your income tax return in a timely manner, you can claim this deduction. So this was the step in which you can claim the 80 IAC deduction. So this was one of the important benefit that is provided to the startups that are registered under Startup India scheme. So till now we have discussed also about the Startup India scheme, that what are the various benefits that are available to the entities that are already registered under the Startup India scheme. And one of the benefits, that is the crucial benefit, is regard to the Startup India Seed Fund scheme, that we will discuss when we talk about the funding aspects related to the startup. So till now Startup India scheme also covered. Now sir, coming on to the stages of the startup. What are the various stages of a startup? The first stage is the idea stage. एक idea जो बदल दे जिंदगी, an idea that can change life. So firstly, as I was earlier telling, that startup is nothing but just another name for an idea that can be converted into a scalable business model. Idea for a problem that can be converted into a scalable business model. So at ideation stage, how can you assist your client? Firstly, it involves market research, that seeing that what is the demand for your product, competition in this segment, what will be your naming and branding, getting the trademark thing done for the client. So at the ideation stage, it involves the market research, competitive analysis, naming and branding of your business. At this stage, the entrepreneur feels as a fresher. He wants to make an impact. He might be starting as he might be unhappy with the job or business, or he want to create something of his own. At this stage, he needs some kind of a helping hand because he is new into this market, and we as a chartered accountants can definitely guide them in this stage, because they need an advisor at this stage to get their things started. Company incorporation, many other things, many compliances need to be done as Startup India registration, so you can guide in the ideation stage. The second stage that comes is the launch stage. After the company or LLP is incorporated, the name and trademark have been finalized, then comes the launch stage. Now is the time to go into the market. Your website, your app will get ready, content marketing will develop, and your startup will now get to be flourished by word of mouth. When you are in the market, you start with the funding options like angel investments, yeah, VCs, or going to the funding shows now like Shark Tank India. So making them file the applications, making them pitch deck ready, making them the brand oriented, making them the entrepreneurial mindset. Then you can also play the role with connection and connecting them with the prospective investors. So at this stage, the entrepreneurial is full of emotion. He celebrates the victories. At this stage, there is no revenue. As we can see, in case of Shark Tank India, so many pitches come in which there are pre-revenue startups. They also get funded. So the pre-revenue startup can also get funded if investors have a faith on the idea of the entrepreneur. So at this stage, you can have them connect with the various funding options available. Third, now comes the validation and decision stage. Now the product is ready, the brand is ready. Now it needs to get out to the customers. Now you have the funds, you have the idea, you have the name, but you need to go to the market with the customer. So now it is the customer and the product and the market fit. You need to understand who your customers are. Like for a business like a firstcry.com, the target audience will be parents of small kids, the infants. For a company like PharmEasy, the potential customer would be grandparents, the elderly age people. For a company, for a like Bombay Shaving Company, the target audience would be men. For a company like Nykaa, the target audience would be women. So you need to understand your product market fit, that who your customers are, and make a business model. Like talking about the subscription business model in the OTT segment. When Jio came up, they showed you the free IPL subscription, free matches on their portal, that is on the Jio Cinema. So that was the freemium model. But when they merged their partnership with the Geo Hotstar and acquired Hotstar, now they are charging the premium prices. So what should be your business model? It should be a premium model, it should be a freemium model. Like when the Geo launched, they offered free SIM services, free data services. That was the freemium model. But now their data plans start from 300 rupees. So that is the basic differentiation between a business model, that you need to start from a freemium business model or a premium business model. So you need to understand and help your client develop a business model strategy, that how is going to be the pricing of the product, what is going to be the marketing in that. So you can help with the validation and decision stage. After all these things have been sorted, the product has been well established in the market, it has got the potential customers, it has got the client base and started generating revenue. Now is the growth stage. Next round of seed fundings, next round of series funding, next round of VCs, or SME IPO can also be planned if there is a substantial growth. So you can assist your client with going public or having the various funding round connected with the angel investors. After the growth stage, now is the transition stage. After you have become a good company, a unicorn company, after like the success of this recent IPOs, you can see, then you can go to the public on the main board IPO and make your OFS, yeah, it is your offer for sale, or come out with a new public issue with an IPO. After IPO, if you need more funds, you can go with the FPO. So showing this 5 stages of a startup, you get to know that a chartered accountancy role is not needed at every of the stage. It's each of the 5 stage, an entrepreneur cannot self go to the market or can go to the SME or can have connect with the investor or can connect with the government compliance part. So a chartered accountancy role or specialization is needed as all of these stages. Just we need to is to client satisfaction and to make the client that we are there to help them. We are not only their compliance doctors, but also want their business to go ahead. We also assist them in this kind of startup advisory services, it how to start with an idea and get to the funding services. We need to add certain dimensions as the AI is developing, artificial intelligence is developing, so many new roles have been coming. So we as chartered accountants cannot rely only on the traditional practices of auditing and taxation. We need to expand our horizon, our base, so that we can serve client in new manners, so that we do not lose clients and we add value to the business. Because chartered accountancy as a profession was known to be added value to the client. Whenever we serve value to the client, add in their business decision, help them grow their business, then they will not leave us. They would be happy to be associated with us for long time, and we can serve them in a better manner if we leave our this traditional practice and explore some new areas. So these were the stages of startup we discussed. Now, sir, came the question of funding. Till now, we have formed our company, we have gone to the market with our product launches, we have created the customer base. Now, the question comes, sir, is that how to, sir, get the funding done? What are the various funding questions? What are the various funding options available in the market? What are the various questions that come in the mind of an entrepreneur while go to the fundings? So how can a chartered accountant play an important role? So now questions come out, the fundraising questions. Firstly, the question that comes to an entrepreneur mind is that how much fund should I raise, sir? He comes to you and asks, sir, how much fund should I raise? So who is going to help them with the valuations of the company? Who is going to help them with the deciding the capital structure of the company? Who is going to help them with deciding their working capital for the company? Who is going to help them with their current ratios, debt equity ratios? We as a chartered accountant only are going to play a crucial role helping them with the question that how much fund should I raise? When should I raise money? कब पैसा रेज करना चाहिए? When should I raise money? Should I go at a pre-revenue stage or a seed stage, or after growing some customers, after developing some base? So taking this decision is not the cup of tea for a new entrepreneur. He is going to consult you for these questions, that when should I raise money, sir? At what stage should I not raise money, at the pre-revenue stage or the seed capital stage or the VC stage, or some angel investor is offering me with this percentage and this money? Should I accept that offer or should I not? Who are going to answer that questions? We as chartered accountants, sir. What are the relevant sources of finance for me? Which are the funding options available? Are there any crowdfunding options available? Are there any connects with the incubator or the accelerator programs? Are there any funds available? Are there any grants available? Who is going to help them? We chartered accountants again in the consultancy role. Can a pre-revenue startup also get funding? Like I discussed before, that on the Shark Tank India, we can see many startups coming up with the pre-revenue ideas. The revenue from operations in their profit and loss is nil, but the valuation they get is around 1 crore, 2 crore, even 5 crore sometimes. So what they are betting on, the shark sitting there, the angel investor sitting there, they are betting upon their idea. So sometimes your idea can also get the value. Sometimes they call that, we are, sir, investing in your entrepreneurial vision, your spirit, not in your business. So can a pre-revenue startup, we can see that the idea is so great that it can grow big. So it initial rounds also it can raise funding without even generating a single penny rupee of revenue. So, sir, agla question, next question is that how much equity should I give? How much equity should I dilute? As CA Aman Gupta, the shark on the Shark Tank India, says that equity is the most precious thing for a startup business. Equity is the gold mine for a startup business. So, how long should I wait to dilute my equity? How much should I dilute? At what portion should I take the debt? Or should I go with the preference shares or the convertible debentures? At what mode of funding should I take, sir? Who is going to give them the best capital structure, best funding options, best valuations, best estimate of their earnings, best projections? We as chartered accountants are again. How should I reach out to investors? How to arrange their pitch deck sessions? How to get them connected with the angel network groups? How to get connected with angel funds? How to get connected them VCs? How to get connected them with the incubators, accelerators? We again as financial doctors will help them, sir. What is the right structure or the instrument? Like I also already told, like preference shares, डिबेंचर्स और आपका इसमें कन्वर्टेबल डिबेंचर्स, कन्वर्टेबल बॉन्ड्स, which structure is best for the client, who is going to help them? Again, a chartered accountant will going to be help them. So this comes the fundraising question, in which a chartered accountant the various options for the funding, that what are the various options that are available to the funding. So talking about the funding options, sir, the most prominent funding option for a new startup firstly is bootstrapping. He can go to his family and friends for the funding. So bootstrapping, also called as the self-funding, is an effective way of startup financing, especially when you are starting your business. You can invest from your own savings or get help from your family and friends. Like next option is like crowdfunding. Crowdfunding, you have seen so many ads like Keto is a crowd raising fund platform, Fundline, Wishberry, Indiegogo. These are the popular crowdfunding sites in India you can note down. So on this you can list your venture. These are basically for the social motives, like for the green technology startups. These are good options in which some social motive is associated. Then you can get grants as an crowdfunding. You can invite small fund of grants on crowdfunding platforms, or it can be done through equity dilution also, like small portion of equity is handed over through AIF funds. It can be done. So crowdfunding is one of the option in which practice of funding a project of venture by raising small amount of money but from a large number of people. It can help typically over the internet only. So this is the crowdfunding option that are accessible. Third, sir, comes like the angel investors. Angels are like the gold. Angel is like the pari. We say that the angels are like the pari who help them with the surplus cash and help them invest in the very initial stage. Like the Shark Tank India show, the sharks sitting there are none. They are also angel investors also, because the startups that come on that show you have seen now, there are 3 4 episodes already on the internet available. There very initially startups come that are the new age startups only. So the people sitting there are also angel investors, and the we have famous angel investors like Shri Ratan Tata sir was one of the famous angel investor, have invested in more than 15 to 20 startups at the time he was alive. Vijay Shekhar Sharma, founder of Paytm, is also one of the famous angel investors. He have invested in many small startups. Sachin Bansal, the former co-founder of Flipkart and founder of Navi, so he is one of the angel investors, and we have seen so many names of Shark Tank India. So they are the people who are high net worth individual that can put small amount of money in many startups, and they help you with the mentorship services or with an initial boost that is required to grow your startup. So that are the angel investors available in the market. Fourth comes the venture capitalist. When you have little fund, you have been little grown, then comes the role of VCs. Like in the starting I showed you about the Misho, like venture capitalists invested at a very earlier stage, so their capital grew 5 lakh percent times, 5 lakh percent there was the return. So venture capitalists are basically the professionally managed fund. Their business only is to invest in a startup. Like so many VCs are there. I have created a full list in this. You can see top venture capital firm in India, that is InfoEdge, Lightspeed, Kalari Capital. You see this name in the newspapers because funding rounds occur and they fund the startups. Kalari Capitals, Bloom Ventures, Consumer Partner DSC, Venture East, Sequoia, Ankur, Venture Highway. So these all are the venture capital available, that is Nexus, Nordwest, Matrix, Artha Venture Fund. There are so many venture capital firms. Their business only is to invest in the startups that are growing startups, and they usually invest in an earlier stage with an aim to exit at the time of IPOs. So at the time of IPOs, you see there is so much portion of OFS, that is existing investors are diluting their shares to public. So at an in a, earlier stage, at an initial stage, VCs invest in startup at a very lower valuations. But when they come while IPO or SME IPOs, then they come with an OFS. Ultimately, the retail investor money is going to VCs. They are exiting at an higher valuations and making the humongous returns like shown earlier. So they usually invest in equity only and exit when there is an IPO or an acquisition by a big company. Some of the famous VCs, like I've already named, are Helion, SL, Bloom, or Nexus Venture. So another option of funding now comes from the business incubator and accelerators. So like early stage businesses can consider incubator and accelerator program as funding options found in every major city. Like every major city has their some kind of incubator or accelerator group. These programs assist hundreds of startup businesses every year. Like this was the headline. IIT Madras Incubation Cell, that is IIT MIC, has incubated over a total of 511 startups. This is the India's one of the biggest incubators, that is IIT Madras. It has incubated around 511 startups with a valuation exceeding 5300 crore based on their most recent funding rounds and generated over 11,000 direct jobs. So this is the power of incubators that assist you in the earlier stage. So incubators are basically like an incubator to a child, like a parent to a child. Incubators are like parent to a child who nurture business, providing every kind of infrastructure, networking facilities, marketing support. So incubator act as a parent to a child, like a parent provide everything to a child, right from its schooling to the education to the infrastructure to the food to the other requirements, same as an incubator provides to a startup, starting from the infrastructure, internet connectivity, networking to the various co-startups, introducing them to the client, help them getting grant from the government. So incubators act as a link between various grant agencies and startup and help them provide with the facilities. When a startup grows, Another option available is accelerator. So accelerator so more less than the same thing, but accelerator helps when the startups are ready to take a giant leap. Popular startups that in accelerator programs in India are MIT Incubator, Angel Prime, IAN Business Incubator, and the world famous incubator, that is world's famous accelerator program, is run by Y Combinator, that have funded and accelerated so many of the Indian startups also, including Flipkart, Zepto, and OpenAI, that is ChatGPT company from America. So Y Combinator is the world largest accelerator program and the world famous one which acts as an accelerator. So once you are ready to go big, then accelerator program comes into the picture with helping you to grow. Fourth and the last one is the bank loans, that are the generally the source of funds. Normally banks just are the first place where the people go, and working capital loans or the short term loans or the business loans can be availed, that are the general means of loan that we all know. So SME finance, various schemes in MSME like Mudra loan, CGT, MSC there are. So that can be availed to the bank loans options for a startup business. So these are the various modes of funding we have discussed. So now as I was talking about one of the famous modes and the mode through which you can get a non-refundable grant, and one of the benefit I was talking about under the Startup India scheme was Startup India Seed Fund Scheme. So once you have been incorporated as a private limited company and you go into the Startup India scheme benefit, then you are eligible for Startup India Seed Fund Scheme. So what this Startup India Seed Fund Scheme is? It is basically a scheme issued by Startup India only, in which it provides benefits to an early age startup to develop prototype, product trials, market entry, and commercialization. So the eligible portal can apply on a Startup India portal. There is a separate portal for seed fund scheme that I will also show you. So this seed fund will be dispersed to selected startups through eligible incubators across India. So on this seed fund scheme, there are various incubators that are listed on the portal. You need to select the 3 incubators while filing the application. As per your region or your wish, you can select the 3 incubators. So your application will be forwarded to that 3 incubators. They will scrutinize, and after that they can release the grants. Now talking about the sir, grants, what is the amount of grant that can be get into this? So sir, under Startup India Seed Fund Scheme, you can get up to 20 lakhs of non-refundable grant. So note my words, 20 lakh non-refundable grant. It is not your dilution of equity. It is not a debt. It is a non-refundable grant that is provided to startup for developing your prototype and your initial stage. These are milestone based grants that can be issued in installments for the startup once your startup is incubated, and the incubation can be done either virtually or offline made as per the incubation center selected by you. So under this scheme, up to 20 lakh rupees of the non-refundable grant is given, and after your 20 lakh rupees get exhausted, 50 lakh rupees can also be availed as a debt, and interest rate of that debt will be lower than the prevailing repo rate of RBI, that is around 6%. So it will be around 5 to 6% only. You can get up to 50 lakh rupees more as a convertible debt or as a bond or directly as a loan option with the banks. So this is the power of this Startup India Seed Fund Scheme. Up to 70 lakh fund per startup is available. If you have a good startup idea, it can definitely change some of the ideas or some kind of bring revolution. So definitely government is there to help you, and you can get the assistance from here. Now learning more about the Startup India Scheme Fund and its conditions. The Startup India Seed Fund Scheme, how it works. Firstly, there is a Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, that is DPIT, we have discussed. So after that, there is an Experts Advisory Committee that has been created. It relates and connects incubators that can be government assisted incubators or not government assisted incubators that are operational for at least 2 to 3 years. And then there are DPIIT recognized startups. So now the point to note out, the condition here is that At time of Startup India registration, I told you the condition for availing Startup India registration is that you need to be at least 10-year old from date of incorporation. But while availing the Startup India seed fund scheme, you should be incorporated less than 2 years ago. Means your age should not exceed 2 years. So it is for the very infant startups, like the newly incorporated startups only. Once you cross the limit of 2 years, then you are not eligible for DPIIT seed fund scheme. You can avail other benefits of Startup India scheme, but seed fund benefit will not be eligible once you exceed 2 years from the date of incorporation. So now checking the other eligibility conditions for a startup. First condition I already told, a startup firstly should be recognized by DPIIT and then should not be incorporated more than 2 years at the time of application. The startup must have a business idea to develop a product or a service with a market fit, viable commercialization, and source of scaling. That I already told in DPIIT condition that it should have a scalable business model. It should use technology. Preference in this sector would be given to the sectors like social impact ones. So while helping your client to assist with an idea, help them with a kind of a startup that has a social impact. Like currently the air pollution, the AQI levels in Delhi are rising. So a startup that can come up with a problem, a solution to this problem, reducing the pollution in Delhi, can definitely get the funding with these options. So while selecting an idea, select an idea that has a social impact. Waste management, water management, financial inclusion, like government wants to add financial literacy into the country. So financial inclusion, education, agriculture, like agriculture is the backbone of our country. So agriculture startups get more preference over other tech startups. Food processing, biotechnology, there are so many startups coming with the millets in the food processing. You see that are the millet grain foods, that is the food processing. Biotechnology sector, healthcare, energy, mobility, defense. Government is investing huge in building our own defense sector. So defense, space, railways, oil, gas, textiles. So these all are the sectors in which the preference would be given for seed fund. And the main condition one is that startup should not have received more than 10 lakh of monetary support under any other central or state government scheme. So under any other scheme, you should not have received more than 10 lakh rupees, and this 10 lakh shall not include any prize money for competitions you take part under Startup India scheme. So sir, the condition is that 10 lakh should not be monetary support received from central government scheme or state government scheme. Another important condition is that shareholding by Indian promoter in the startup should be at least 51%. At least 51% should be held by Indian promoters at the time of application. So a startup applicant can avail seed support in form of grant, that is 20 lakh non-refundable grant, and debt or convertible debentures, that is 50 lakh rupees each once the guidelines of the schemes are met. So these are the conditions that are to be met for a startup. So the process basically I will tell you is that firstly you get to the DPIIT registration, then after getting the registration go to the Seed Fund India website. You will type startupindiaseedfund.com. You get with the website, you will find on Google. So after you apply there, firstly your age should be less than 2 years. You comply with all these conditions. There, as I already told you, hundreds of incubators are there. You need to select 3 incubators as per your region or as per your wish. You can select 3 incubators. These incubators need to be selected in order of preference you want to get incubated. So the preference 1, 2, 3 will be given to them, and these incubators preference wise will check your eligibility and your startup idea, will call up with your interviews or any kind of pitch deck requirements are there. So after they scrutinize your application, they will connect you with the incubator, and there you will be incubated, and through incubator the grant is released. So this is the basic process of Startup India Seed Fund scheme. Through incubator the grant will be released. So now talking about incubator, that how you can create incubators, how can you assist your clients to create incubators. So for creating an incubator there are certain conditions. The first condition incubator must be a legal entity, that it can be society registered under Society Registration Act, a trust, a private limited company registered under Companies Act, or any statutory body created under the Act of Legislature. So, thus incubator should be central or state government assisted. It should be assisted by central government or state government. Incubator should be working at least 2 years on the date of application. When you are applying to this scheme, at least 2 years should be operationality of that incubator. Should have a seating capacity of at least 25 individuals, and infrastructure should be there so that 25 individuals can sit under incubation center. Already at least 5 startups must be undergoing incubation physically. Kindly note the word physically, as virtual incubation is already possible. So it should be physically incubated. 5 startups undergoing physical incubation on the date of application. The incubator must have a full-time CEO experienced in business development, entrepreneurship, supported by capable team for mentoring startup in testing and validating ideas. So your incubator should have full-time CEO with a good team having experience in this domain. The incubator should disperse seed fund to incubating using fund from their own funds, not from third party private entity. So the funds should be own funds, not from the funds taken from a third private party. So funds should be your own funds. And in case the incubator is not assisted by central or state government, the incubator must be operational for at least 3 years. So incubator must be operational for at least 3 years, must have at least 10 separate startup undergoing incubation physically. So that 2 years condition turns into 3 when you are private, not assisted by government. So that 2 years condition turns 3, 5 turns here 10, and you need to present audited annual reports for the last 2 years, and any other conditions at the expert advisory committee will tell you. So these are the conditions for an incubator to incorporate your incubator on the Startup India Seed Fund portal where you can assist startups. So, sir, as we were discussing that so many startups have ruled the decade, like at tech startups, I gave the examples of Physics Wala, Unacademy, Vedantu. These were the talk of the town in the last decade. Fintech sector like MobiQuick, like Paytm after the demonetization happened. So these startups boomed and emerged as winner in this decade. In the next 10 years, the new age startups that will be firstly is going to be artificial intelligence. That is artificial intelligence. Today, every work depends upon AI. AI is the next buzzword, and we are seeing the AI impact in our daily life. So many AI applications, so many AI based feed on our social media portals, AI based calling system, AI based frauds. Everything now is revolving around AI. So the next segment, the next decade is going to be dominated by AI startups only. The AI tech will dominate the industry, and so much of the Indian companies will come with the AI technologies, and this technology sector, that is artificial intelligence, is going to be the winner in the next decade. Another segment that is going to impact is the agriculture sector. Still, as India is hugely dependent with their GDP coming from the agriculture sector, the agri-tech sector will involve humongous transformation with the help of technology. Like we can already see drone technology, so many apps with the farmers coming up with the beach, the seeds, the growth rate, monitoring the farming facilities, the pesticide use, the fertilizer use. So as India is hugely dependent on the agriculture economy, so agriculture sector is definitely going to boom in the next 10 years. Next comes the sir travel tech sector. As India is an heritage hub, we have mountains, we have deserts, we have beaches, we have culture, we have heritage. There are so many cultural heritage and historical sites present in India that connect spirituality to the world, that attracts foreigners to our country. So travel tech is definitely going to boom. So the startups in the travel segment, like in the earlier decade, booking apps like Make My Trip, Go Ibibo dominated. More apps you will see in the travel tech sector. Next, sir, comes the health tech. Like so much technology is developing, we are so much onto our computer screens, and nobody today is 100% fit. So health tech is definitely going to dominate with the help of AI. So many tools will come up that will develop in this health tech sector, and after all this technology will be there, so definitely we can see how hazardous the environment has become, how polluted the air of our national capital has become, how polluted the water of Yamuna river has become in national capital. So we can see the green tech startups coming and huge support by government to this type of sectors. Already see that how much support EV sector is getting from the government, be it in the subsidies, grants, or the support with the factory setting facility. So green tech and EV tech is going to be another big story for the 10 years. So I will be just concluding. I have already took 1.5 hours. After that, we will take up the questions that have participants have written in the chat section. So concluding my view on this topic, there are a lot of opportunities, not only for chartered accountants, everyone. There are a lot of opportunities are available in this startup ecosystem. We should grab it as early as possible because still India is a developing country and we need to grab our opportunities as early as possible and invest in the youth of this country. As we have the largest population of youth in the world, India is a developing country and youth have potential in the country. So invest in youth of this country. Invest in India. That is definitely going to be a big story. Like 10 years back, China was becoming a manufacturing hub. Next 25 years, next 2047 Viksit Bharat mission, India is going to be a big story. So definitely invest in India. And the startup mantra basically depends upon three things, that is youth, entrepreneurship, and technology. We are having all three. We have technology hubs, we have entrepreneurship in the country, we have youth, we have the third largest startup ecosystem, we have the developing economy. So this is the base root of startup. And with this say, as I always say in my seminars and presentations, that har startup, har ghar startup. That is Jai startup, and every home should have a startup. So with this, thank you everyone for the patient hearing. Now your questions are welcomed on the chat section. These are the basically my email ID and number. If you want to ask something other than the discussion or have to have one-to-one discussion, you can definitely mail me or contact me on this contact number, and other queries related to this webinar can be addressed here. So thank you once again everyone for this patient listening, and once again thank you, and I forward now to Richa ma'am for taking up the questions for today's seminar.
Thank you so much for Mukul. It was a wonderful and insightful session.
Thank
And
you.
we have lots of questions for you as well. So my first question here is, how can the founder balance rapid growth and compliance requirement, especially GST, labor laws, and MSME registrations?
So see, the entrepreneur needs to balance the both. Seeing if the compliance part need to be handled by an expert. Entrepreneur, I think, should not be indulged in the compliance part himself. He should definitely appoint a compliance expert, be a professional, be a chartered accountant for the compliance part, and he should not indulge into the compliance part. He should just devote few times in a month for checking that compliances are fulfilled. But compliance part should be held by a specific expert, and the focus of the entrepreneur should be on the growth of their startup because he is the man behind the vision. So the focus of him should be on the startup growth, and compliance part should be held to the expert.
Yeah, that's very true. But so basically, what the question here is like the entrepreneur should at least know what all the compliances are to be done. At least he
Yes,
can
yes,
ask
yes. That's
his.
why what I am telling is that he should devote at least few times to check that these compliances have been done, but should not be full-fledged involved that I should manage all these compliances, that I myself is filing GST returns or taking the tension of tax compliances. He should
Right.
have an expert indulge and should only focus little time of the month in that compliance work. Main focus should be on building their business.
Okay. And the next question is like, what key financial metrics should early stage startup track from day one to ensure that they are building a scalable MSME model?
So for the building startups, I only advise is to firstly preserve your equity. Firstly, the main concern about should be your the equity preservation, your debt equity ratio. In the initial days, what startup makes the mistake is regarding the debt. Either they take so much debt or dilute so much equity. Like sometimes also you see on the Shark Tank show, the startup comes and they give 25-50% even equity to the angel investors. So when they are diluted their early stage equity, so when they're not having ball in the court, so their interest diminishes. So firstly, the key metrics that should focus in the debt equity ratio, your working capital ratios, your PE ratios. From the initially, you should be concerned about this.
Very well said. So, and what are the role of chartered accountant that plays in converting a startup idea into a sustainable business model?
Think
Can you
more
guide
of
on
the
that?
discussion was around this only, that we as
Yes.
chartered accountants need to step away from the traditional practice only as a acting as a compliance expert. We are the best financial doctors, as I always say, and we need to guide clients that how we can assist them in their startup India journey, how we can get them with the benefits of seed fund, how we can connect them with the angel investors. So we as a chartered accountant should guide them instead of just acting as a compliance doctor. And talking about the sustainable business model, when a business on from the first day acts from the principles of integrity, honesty, and serving the client in a fair manner, already it creates a sustainable business. So the focus should be on the growth that is sustainable from the day one. And a chartered accountant can definitely that act from the initial, I told about the 5 stages, from the ideation to the last transition stage. At every role a chartered accountant plays a crucial role.
Yeah. Thank you for answering this question. So the next question here is, how does the CA help a startup choose the right business structure?
How does a CA help a startup choose the right business structure? The CA is having the financial wisdom, taxation wisdom. He is into the education for the, in every aspect we can see there are more than 25 subjects we study from the foundation to final stage. And having the market experience, a chartered accountant can definitely upgrade his knowledge by seeing the various funding shows, reading newspaper, magazines, that what are the trending options available in the market. Like in the session also I have told whatever is the emerging areas, how can a chartered accountant play important role in funding. So these are all of the options that chartered accountant can explore and guide their clients.
Yes. So, yeah, so we have another question here is, what is the significance of financial forecasting in early stage startup?
So having for financial forecasting in early startup
Financial
can help
forecasting.
you to decide that how much equity you need to dilute, how much you need to retain. Should you dilute even equity, or you can have the debt option of having the, if you estimate that you will be having good EBIT ratios, good profits, you can definitely take off having some kind of a leverage with the debt. So having financial forecasting ready for the initial few years, you can develop your strategy with the debt equity or the how much capital structure you need to get done with this strategy. So financial forecasting helps in that part.
All right. So the next one here is, why is valuation important for startups and how do CA assist in it?
You see valuation, you can see it in the recent times, you can see the IPOs coming like this Misho, Lenskart. They are humongous valuations. So at an initial stage when you are forming a company, so chartered accountant can definitely play an important role in valuation part. So taking the initial early age startups, seeing your revenue multiples, your PE ratios, your EBITDA, valuation can be derived from that part. And after your valuation is derived, so chartered accountant when assisting you that how much you need to dilute, because once you start with the dilution part, that sets the benchmark. Suppose you diluted your 10% for 10 crore, so 100 crore is the valuation. So at what cost your valuation should be done, that sets the benchmark for your further round. So that part valuation is important.
Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely right. The valuation is very important for any startup. So the next query is like, why is GST planning essential for product based as well as service based startup?
GST planning, sir, is definitely important because, as you know, we need to comply with the Indian tax laws when we are operating in these countries. For the first day, you can consult your chartered accountant that how to manage this and take the compliance part in his hand so that timely filings can be done.
So basically, it is important for every
It is just
organization.
important for every business because GST is
Right.
the compliance part and it needs to be followed because we are operating in this landscape. So
Right. So not for specifically startup, it is important for
for
everyone.
everyone.
Yeah. How does a C assist in startup in ISO planning and implementation?
This thing I have already addressed in webinar, I think, so many times. In
Yeah.
funding, in valuations, in ideation, in every stage I told na chartered accountant is playing a role. If you need to set an idea, you will set to
Yes.
market,
So
you
how
will
is
set the
financial technology reshaping fundraising and compliance for startups?
how is financial technology reshaping.
Fundraising and compliance for startups.
Yes, yes, just say I showed you the some of crowdfunding platforms like Keto, or you can see some of the fundraising options coming through web like AIF funds are coming. So many of the small fund like Grape, one of the famous Stike I think is coming. So there are so many apps coming that help you to get fundraising with the AIF options coming, that is alternate investment funds. Now the pitch decks can be arranged online. So many of angel investor and the VCs are available connection through online means so many of the online pitch sessions are conducted. So technology is definitely helping this, and with the help of technology funding is easily accessible. Earlier we used to meet and consult with the people, but now we connecting online with the VCs, angel investors, so many online pitch decks, we can easily get access to that funding options.
So basically, you're saying through some apps we can use them and meet the online
There
venture
are
capital.
applications, ma'am. There are AIF funds. There are various online pitch deck fund round helped by angel network groups. So we can definitely use that technology in our startup funding.
Good, good. So what is the next question is what is the scalability and why is important criteria for startup?
Scalability is basically the vision. Like I told you, what differentiates a small optical shop that is Sharma Optical from Lenskart, that is the vision. Scalability is something that is expanded. From the day one, you are having the vision to open 500 stores, not five. So that is scalability. Day one, you have the vision that you need to open 500 stores. You will work as per that vision. But if you are having the vision that you only need to operate a single store, so that will not be scalable. Scalability is something that expands rapidly.
Yeah, basically to play on volume.
Yeah, like simply taking the example of Zepto.
Mhm.
Small Kriana shop was also delivering groceries, but what Zepto did that created a whole warehouse chain in the country. And I didn't take the example that his co-founder at the 21 years age only become the billionaire. That was one of the youngest billionaire of the country. So that is just the vision and the scalability that differentiates between the channels. I think internet connection problem is there.
Yeah. So the next question is what should be the capital ratio of founder members versus venture investors?
So at the initial stage, till that time, I think you are going for SME IPO. Till that stage, more than 51% should be held by the promoters only. You can dilute around 25 to 30% depending upon your capital structure to the VCs and rest 20% to the angel investors. But till the time you are not going with the SME IPOs, do not dilute more than 50% because you will have the control and the voting powers till the time of IPO.
Okay, so initial stage you are suggesting that you should have the holding power and on the later stage we can dilute more.
Yes.
The next question is like how we can expand our startup to international level, mean like international startups.
Your internet got disconnected, man. International.
So basically my question is how we can expand our startup to international level.
With the help
Uh,
of technology. Simple answer. Today,
can,
technology is connecting full world. World has become a global village. After that was the question till 1991 when globalization was not there. But till now, everything is online. Technology is there. Applications can operate in whole of the world.
can
So
you give some examples in this area?
and today, Lenskart has more than uh, 50 plus stores outside India. Burger King, I take the example with the help of technology and marketing support only. They took their Burger King stores to more than 150 countries.
I guess the person who want to ask is like how to expand, how to proceed for the expansion in international market, like what tools we can use or what the mediation we can use.
I think the platforms that can help are LinkedIn. You can build connections through LinkedIn that are outside India. And if firstly you can see your product at what your product is, because Indian market is so big that firstly you cannot cater even the Indian market, but your product is that kind of thing that is already in the Indian market, but you need to take it to the online. Then focus in only to the international channel. Then less focus should be on the Indian market. Take the focus at the initial stage of the international level only. And if the product is that can be served in the Indian market, the first focus should be building brand in Indian market, then taking it global.
Internet connection issue, I think. Uh, just let him reconnect.
Yeah, sorry, my connection lost. So the next question is the new company is registered and applied for startup registration. Before registration, another company is merged with the new company. What is the impact on the startup registration?
You are a merge company.
So basically, the new company is registered and applied for the startup registration. But before he should got the registration, another company is merged with the new company. What is the impact on startup registration?
It will be a problem, ma'am. It is because it is a merged company now. It should be a fully incorporated new company. Because a big company is merging with it,
Mm-hmm.
so benefits will not be available.
Okay. So you're saying like already registered company is merging with the new company, so the startup registration will not be allocated.
It is applicable to a fully incorporated new company, no demerger,
Right,
constitution,
right.
that kind of thing.
Okay, that is it from our side. So yeah, if you want to add something, you can
Yeah, thank you everyone once again for this patient listening. And as I
definitely give
already
some
told you,
questions.
that if anybody has another idea to build, because these kind of sessions today are held because we want to incorporate the culture of entrepreneurship in our chartered accountancy community. Like I
Right.
show you the fact that 66% startups are still from IIMs, IITs. So in order to build this startup culture in ICI, MSME committee and startup committee of ICI, I would like to congratulate them. They have been doing this MSME Pathshala series for quite a while now, and I think this is the 77th session. So this is an impressive initiative by our mother body ICI and committee on MSME and startups. So definitely these kind of session add value to our growth and our professional community. So in future also keep joining us for these sessions. And in case you have any query, you can connect with the MSME committee or directly with me, or for any query related to startups. If you have not solved in this webinar, already I shared my contact details. So this is all from my side. So once again, thank you for listening this series, and Jai Hind, Vande Mataram.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That was a wonderful session and really insightful for us. And
Thank,
I hope the audience as well enjoyed a lot and learned a lot from this session. Thank you so much.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, sir. Thank you for a wonderful session. Thank you,
Thank you.
ma'am. Thank you for coordinate the session.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, tech support team. Thank you so much.